my name is John Carnavale, Associate Director of Telemedicine for UBMD Emergency Medicine. This is a basic look at the telemedicine system for interns and refresher for those that may have not been in the room for a while. So let's get into it. Calls will come to us via the secretary in the ER. Let's say one of the prisons will use Attica because they're a local facility. Calls with a inmate that's having some chest pain. They will accept the call, then put the call on what we call the e-whiteboard, and that's here.
Okay, let's take a brief look at what we call the e-whiteboard. This is the visual reminder system that exists to let you know that there's a consult holding. This will be showing on the monitor behind the resident station in the ER. So what will happen is a consult will be requested by one of the prisons in the system, one of the 47 that we deal with. They'll be dialing the secretary in the ER. She will add the call for us. So let's say Attica calls with a level 2 and some difficulty breathing. We're going to put tests so that we don't get anybody confused here. And you can put your notes in here. And then they will save the changes. Attica. And this will be what shows up for you. There's some time constraints programmed into here. So when in a level 2, I believe it's 15 minutes. In 15 minutes, this area will light up in this color here, orange. And then after another 5 minutes or so, I don't know the exact times, it'll start to blink for you. The highest level of visual reminder is flashing. That means this call's been significantly delayed, and we should probably get in there and take care of it. Once you get in there, you'll see this as you log into the computer. This will be one of the 2 things that pop up for you on the screens. The other will be the Adobe form that we've talked about. Just pick who you are and go from there. And that's it. That's all you have to do with this. Do your call, write your form up, and then once you've done that, close this call. It'll ask you if you want to close the call, and just click OK, and that was off the screen, but you'll see it on your main screen. And that's all there is to this. It's just another way of keeping track of the calls, but it's basically a visual reminder system. It is a website that UB Medical Computing wrote for us a long time ago and just maintains it for us. Very simple website, and that's all it's for.
The call will be announced on the overhead speaker, plus put on the e-whiteboard as a visual reminder that there's a call to be done, or a consult. Once you notice the consult and you're ready to do it, you come in this room and you log into the computer here. Not many people do, but please try to keep yourself on the far end of the table. This room is purposefully set up with a distance between you and the camera. That gives the illusion to the patient that you're actually making eye contact. Otherwise, if you're too close to the camera, which is what does your image, it makes you look like you're either looking up or looking down, depending on the situation at that time. So first thing is to log into the computer. There you'll see the Adobe form that we use for charting and the e-whiteboard come up on either one of the monitors. These computers are programmed to automatically log into these 2 forms and the website that you need for your charting. You can also use Dragon if you need to. Once you log into the computer, that you can go get the paperwork from the fax machine over here. Take a quick look at that and then dial in. I'll show you that procedure. So up top there you have a phone number that shows the phone number of the bridge. That's available here also on the instructions that are laminated and left in this room. If you ever have a little problem with remembering what to do next, you can always refer to these instructions. Also in these instructions are the codes to dial with this remote to connect to each prison. Each prison is given a 6-digit code, and that tells the machine, the bridge, to connect to a certain place. So first thing to do is to grab the remote and make a call. You press the green call button to do that. Now we're using fancy phone lines called ISDNs in here. It is an old school technology. It's what we're stuck with at the moment. And that's the reason for the bridge is sort of, think of it as a translator. It's able to translate our analog signal to the digital signal that Docs uses. So up here you will see a gray box with a cursor. What that's really looking for is a code. So to do that, you press the pound key first. As you see up in the right hand corner there, there's a keypad. That just tells you that the machine is ready to accept input from you. So we're going to use, staying with Attica here, if you look up Attica in your little sheets here, code there is 033001. So using the numbers on there. So again, pressing the
to the number you wish to dial, followed by the pound key.
Pressing the pound key first, then 033 001, and then the pound key again. Think of that as the enter sign.
Thank you. I'll connect you now.
So the bridge gives some programming to give you a voice reminder that things are working, and then you will dial into the bridge. Now, we're the only ones attached to this. Attica probably isn't attached, so you'll see something you are currently the only participant in the room. And that's okay for now. So at this point, if Attica was attached, you would see the Attica emergency room or their little clinic, and then you would start your interview with the patient. So as you start your interview with the patient, this is just like seeing any other patient. There's a couple different things that I want you to make sure you do. The doc's paperwork is usually wrong, probably, well, not usually, but probably 30% of the time. They have a name spelled incorrectly. The DIN, which is the prisoner number, is incorrect. So please ask the inmate if they have anything more difficult than John Smith, what their last name is and how to spell it, and always ask their DIN number. The prisoners will know their DINs by heart. So introduce yourself, tell them who you are, and then go into your normal routine for any patient that you would see, depending on the situation.
Okay, we're going to take a quick look at the chart that you'll be using in telemedicine. This is the top part of the chart. The screen capture software that I'm using doesn't really let me show the whole thing without distorting it terribly, so we'll do it top and then bottom. So this is an Adobe form, and the red boxed areas are sort of mandatory. We don't want to know that information on everybody regardless of what's going on. Our format for name is last name first and then first name, DIN number in here, which is just the inmate's number. That'll be on the paperwork, and the inmate will know that. Now, a little note on the paperwork: about 25 to 30% of the paperwork that we get from docs is wrong as far as their DIN and or spelling of their name. So please get in the habit, as you're doing your introductions, asking the inmate their name and how to spell it, unless it's John Smith. Please ask them their DIN. They all know that. That's the key, basically the primary key in docs. That's how I am able to look up each inmate with, and in the docs Department of Corrections computer system, so that's an important number to have correct. Date, start, and end time are automatic fields. All that need to be done is clicking in them. It'll give you the proper date. It pulls that information from the computer itself. Start time, and then the end time does the same thing, but please do the end time at the end of the call. Occasionally we do time studies to figure out how we're doing as far as how long these work, or how long these consults last, and how long it takes us to answer them. We don't look at any particular person. We're more in talking about in general information. Facility is a drop-down box. Pick the facility that's calling you as appropriate. Levels are 1 through 5. 1 is CPR, pull them down from a hanging, cut in the throat, really obvious chest pain that's the guy's sweating and having trouble breathing, that sort of thing. That'll all be level 1. Level 5 should be something like toe pain. The nursing staff at docks do have a little bit of a habit of over leveling. We have to let that slide unless it's very egregious. If they make toe pain a level 1, I want to know about that. If they call atypical chest pain a level 1 instead of a level 3, they don't know the difference. We have to cut them a large piece of slack because the nursing staff at docks is variably trained. Some are good, some are bad. Date of birth is another box. You can, if you really want to go through all this, do it this way and get to the appropriate decade. If not, then just type in the appropriate date of birth in this format. Click out of there, and a little script in there will calculate the date for you. I didn't write this script. I actually have to fix it. Sometimes this date is a little silly. Anyway, this is my birthday. Money is accepted. Chief complaint, what the patient tells you or the main problem history as appropriate, past medical history as appropriate, medications as appropriate. You'll get inmates that have 25 medications, write the ones down that matter to this consult. Physical assessment, again, if they have something that needs an assessment and there's a way to describe it, please put that down. Orders at the facility, same thing. If you're given any orders, please put that down. Sending them to the hospital is handled down here in a different spot. So hold off on, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about orders like nitro or oxygen or an aspirin or a Tylenol or whatever. So let's take a look at the bottom part of the chart now. We ended up with orders last. Going from there, this box here, if checked, urgent follow-up required, just as a notification to the staff at docks that the inmate really should see the facility doctor quickly, usually the next day if it happens to be some time where they're not there. The doctors are always on, there's always somebody on call, but they're physically there, usually 8 to 4, something like that, daytime hours. If you did or if you ordered an x-ray, put that down. Lab test that you ordered, put that down. Additional referral info and orders, diagnostic, that's all as appropriate. Diagnosis, you can put more than one thing down. We don't have all of our diagnostic testing available to us, x-rays, lab tests, etc. So, you may be doing a little bit of guesswork. If you think it might be 1 or 2 things, then feel free to put that down. This disposition is where the inmate goes. If you plan on calling the person back, which is encouraged, say you have an asthmatic that's known to be an asthmatic and has been having a little trouble because it's spring and the pollen's flying around. Make a plan on calling them back in an hour after they've had the 2 nebulizer treatments that you've ordered, or have them call you back, whatever way that is. If that's going to happen, please note that here and then a time frame. Disposition is discharge to facility or general population, just means back to their normal routine. Admit to a facility, infirmary, or OBS unit is basically some beds in a cell-like room. This is not an OBS unit that you're used to in a hospital. So if you don't think they can be alone for any length of time, please send them to the hospital. I've done some visits at some of the facilities. Clinton comes to mind, out in Dannemora, New York, which is in the Adirondack region. And it's a 1,500 inmate facility, and the facility itself is probably about 5 city blocks wide, maybe 6-7 blocks long. It could take the nurse anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to get from one side of the place to the other, and that's if she's hustling. So the idea that she's got eyes on this inmate isn't the way it works. So if you have any doubt about putting somebody in the infirmary, then send them out to the hospital. It is appropriate sometimes, but just make sure you understand what we're talking about. It literally is just another jail cell that's a little bit bigger with a hospital type bed in it. Transfer to the ED is sort of obvious. Type in whatever facility you're sending them to. Those are all on the reference chart we'll see in a little bit. Admit to the other docs' infirmaries. Some of the prisons do not have their own infirmary, but they a lot of times have sister facilities that are physically located close. Some are literally across the street. If you have to do that, that's fine. Just note it. Emergent urgent referral is a little bit different than this. We're talking about a referral to, say, ortho or some other subspecialty that isn't readily available with a facility doctor. And then direct expedited admission to whatever facility. If you happen to make those arrangements, that would be where you'd put that stuff down. And then at the end here, pick your name. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing. Mode of transportation, just note that, how you're sending them. If it's an ambulance, do that. If it's transported by correctional vehicle, then do that. Air is, unless it's absolutely necessary, air is a big deal in the docs world because of the security concerns of landing a helicopter anywhere near a prison. So think hard about that one. It actually literally has to be okayed by the medical director of docs before this can happen inside of docs. So think hard about that one. Usually want to stay away from that. Pick your name in the list here. Everybody should be in this list that works at ECMC. If you're not, then let me know. And then the attending that you're giving a report to. Jot that down too. These are all clickable. Once you click on it, it will add the name for you. At the end of the call, once you've gotten, you're done your report and you've gotten your attending to sign, have them sign at the bottom here. Go up and print this out. Your computer should be set up to print to the printer that's inside the Telemed room. And then when you do close this form, it'll ask you if you want to save it. You do not want to save it. This will end up saving everything that you just wrote in your in the startup folder for everybody. So nobody wants that. This is the reference chart that we use in the Telemed room. It's physically located next to the printer on a flip chart type thing. Here is the information about all the facilities that we deal with, the prisons. In the case of our friend Attica, its physical location in the state, where X-ray is, where its infirmary is. These will sometimes be different. Not every facility has an X-ray or infirmary. Security level, if that's an interest to you. Scheduling. Here's the main phone number, different extensions that you might end up using, primary and tertiary ER. What these red numbers are for the speed dials. They also are for this particular one is for the fax code also. So for the phone, you would pick up the receiver or use the hands-free button on the phone. Once you do that, then the speed control button will be available up near the display at the top. It'll be abbreviated SPD CTL. Once you press that button, then you just will put in your 3-digit code here, and that'll tell the machine that you want to dial this number. So it saves you a little bit of time from dialing these big long numbers. Once the prison answers you, it will welcome you to thank you for calling Attica Correctional Facility. If you know the party's extension, please enter it now. That's when you would enter your 4-digit codes, either nurse's station, Telemed room, which is where the Telemed equipment usually is. Here's the infirmary extension. If you ever send somebody to infirmary and you need to call back, or they trying to get a hold of you and you need to get a hold of them, etc., that's your extension. Closest room is the closest room to the Telemed room. Sometimes we need to get a hold of somebody and we're just trying different rooms, so that's what that number is. Medical records you generally wouldn't use. That's for me, but there may be a possibility that you would need, if it's daytime from like 8 to 3, 8 to 4, you would use that if you need a particular piece of paperwork. Here, primary and tertiary ERs, as we mentioned before. Down here will be the information as to whether this facility has narcotics available. Not all do. That's the reason for this reference. Let's take a quick look at the phone. So here we have the green button is the hands-free button. That's probably the easiest way to do this. You'll get the dial tone. Then up at the top, it will say speed control, and then you want to put in the code that you want to dial. In this case, we'll use our friend Attica 044, and that'll dial the phone for you.
You are calling from a touch-tone telephone, and you know your party's extension number. Dial it now. Otherwise, press 0.
So just to review, you can either pick up the handset or hit the speed dial button, the green button as mentioned, dial the 3-digit code that goes along with that particular prison. Those are all in the reference manual in red. Remember, the speed dial and the fax code are the same. Once you do that, it will automatically dial the long number with the area code for you. Once into the system, then you dial the 4-digit extension code to get a hold of somebody. If no one answers at that particular extension, you can try some of the other ones, or you can call back and dial 0, and the switchboard operator will answer for you.
Okay, a quick look at using the fax machine. Fairly simple. Your paperwork will go in here. Instructions are here just in case you forget how to do this. Slide the paperwork in face up. It'll pull it in and scan it. So what you're looking to do first is to hit the address book, which is the little green sticker, and it looks like an open book here. So in the case, we'll stick with our friend Attica. Hit that, and then it's going to ask you press the speed dial code. So in our case, 044, and you'll see
Jenna Tompkins, extension 4018.
Attica will be displayed.
Jenna
If you don't
Tompkins,
see something like that, then you did it
4018.
wrong. So once again, hit the open book, then the code, put your paperwork in or before, and then hit the start key. That's all there is to it. So after you're done with the call, then you go back to your normal duties and do what you have to do. As part of this, we pay you $5 in Amazon credit for every consult you handle. How that works is at the end of the month, once Michelle, our administrative assistant, puts these physical calls in the database, then I can query the database getting numbers, put those in an Excel spreadsheet, run another function on those counting up who did what and how many, and then I go and use Amazon's site to send off an email to their server, which generates those email cards that I give you. That process usually takes a couple weeks after the month. So for example, June you'll get paid for middle of July. July you'll get paid for middle of August, etc. There may be a little bit of delay in there. Michelle is also the supervisor of the greeters. So if she has to cover for somebody for a while, a couple of days or maybe a week, there may be a little delay in getting those charts into the database, but we will get you paid. One other thing for the future for the interns is there is a prize at the end of your residency for the most consults handled by a particular resident. We call that the Golden Camera Award. So you'll see that at your graduation dinner. So keep that in mind as you're going through your travels, and it's a little bit of a cash prize and some serious, very serious prestige in the telemedicine world. Dave and I, Dr. Ellis and I appreciate everything you do for the telemed program. Residents historically end up taking about 80 to 85% of the consults, mainly I think because they're right here. That may change in the new ER with this class, we'll see. APPs take about 15% or so, and attendings take anywhere from none to about 5%.